Discuss the topic confined space safety. Objectives. After this module, you should be able to identify the most common confined space hazards. Take the necessary steps to avoid those hazards. What is a confined space? A confined space is a space that is large enough for a person to enter and work, has limited or restricted means of entry and exit, is not designed for continuous occupancy. Permit-required confined space. A permit-required confined space has at least one of the following characteristics. Contains or has the potential to contain a hazardous atmosphere. Contains a material that has the potential to engulf an entrant. Has an internal configuration such that an entrant could be trapped or asphyxiated. Contains any other recognized serious safety and health hazard. Confined space hazards. Oxygen deficiency. Flammable, combustible gases and vapors. Toxic gases. Engulfment in solid or liquid. High noise levels. Grinding, crushing, or mixing mechanisms. Configuration. Extreme temperatures. Chemicals. Lack of lighting. This is one example of a permit-required confined space. Always follow your company's permit procedures, even if you are going in for just a second. This confined space may be oxygen deficient or contain flammable, combustible, or toxic gases or vapors. Test the atmosphere in this order: oxygen content, then flammables, then toxics, then other hazards. Test the atmosphere at all levels of the confined space. Good air near the opening doesn't mean good air at the bottom. The atmosphere inside a confined space may not be suitable for entry. Forced air ventilation may be used, but you are not permitted to enter the atmosphere as suitable. Atmospheric conditions may change while you are in the confined space. Periodically monitor the atmosphere within the confined space. Get out from a confined space. If a hazardous atmosphere is detected while a worker is in a confined space, all activities should stop. The workers should exit immediately. The hazard should be evaluated. Protective measures should be taken. If a worker must wear a respirator, remember that an air purifying respirator will do nothing in an oxygen-deficient atmosphere. These workers are wearing air-supplying respirators due to a lack of oxygen. Adequate illumination should be provided where lighting is limited. In some cases, explosion-proof lighting may be necessary. Some confined spaces can contain mixing or crushing mechanisms or other hazards that can be turned on and injure a worker. Use lockout, tagout on all hazardous items. Duties of attendants. Knows the hazards. Maintains an accurate count of entrants. Remains outside the permit space until relieved by another attendant. Maintains regular communication with entrants. Monitors conditions inside and outside of the permit space. Rescue services when needed. Ensures unauthorized personnel do not enter permit space or affect operations. Performs non-entry rescues. Performs no other duties that might interfere with primary duty to monitor and protect the entrance. It is possible for a worker to be overcome by a sudden change in atmospheric conditions. Ensure that a rescue procedure is in place in case an entrant needs to be removed from a confined space in an emergency. The reserve pit is a permit-required confined space because of its potential to contain a hazardous atmosphere and to drown a worker. Additional concerns. Noise. Amplified due to the acoustics of the space. Damages hearing and affects communication. Slippery or wet surfaces. Increased risk of falls and electrical shock. Personal protective equipment. More common such as hard hat, hard-toed boots, safety glasses, face shield, gloves, and overalls must be worn when needed. Hot work. Your employer is responsible for providing atmospheric testing equipment. If necessary, providing ventilation equipment and/or respiratory protection. Providing and training on confined space permits and the written program. Developing and training on emergency action and rescue plans. Responding to and correcting hazards pointed out by you, The worker. You are responsible for testing the atmosphere prior to entry, periodically monitoring the atmosphere for possible changes, following permit procedures, ensuring that there is at least one authorized attendant present at all times, correcting the hazards you are able to correct, reporting to your supervisor the hazards you are unable to correct. Always remember: test the atmosphere prior to entry and periodically. Never enter a confined space if the atmospheric conditions are not suitable. Ensure an attendant is outside the confined space at all times. Follow your company's confined space permit. We are Prevention Pro. We do training, consulting, auditing, firefighting equipment installations and maintenance. Subscribe our channel for more safety videos. Thank you.